Good afternoon, and welcome to day 3 of Doclands after opening night. We're about halfway through. Has everyone enjoyed themselves so far? Music to our ears. My name's Sterling Hedgepeth. I'm the programming manager for Doclands, and festivals like this, screenings like this wouldn't be possible without the incredibly generous support of our community partners, and the Dreamers and I is brought to you in association with Marin Arts and SF and SF Film. So, I'm sorry, with BAMFA. So please give them a big hand. Now, I've been at CAFILM for about 15 years now, and I don't remember a time when I haven't known about or known personally KENJI, YAMAMOTO, and Nancy Kelly. And seeing a new film come in from them was not surprising, but when I saw the film, it was something very, very different and very special about it. And we look forward to sharing it with you today. But to say a few words, please give a big hand to KENJI and Nancy.
You people scare me. Thank you, Sterling. Yes, it's true. We've known each other for many years, and we've been up on stage introducing our films, and Nancy has been the director, and this is my first time directing, so thank you very much for... You do scare me.
Just one other thing. How many of you know what Doc Pitch is? We pitched this at Doc Pitch so long ago. It was year 1 or year 2 or something.
I think it was year 2
so here
2018.
It is. Nothing like what we pitched, but it's here. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Coming. Enjoy, and we'll see you later.
Please give a big hand to KENJI and Nancy.
You do scare me.
Now, KENJI, you've been around filmmaking and filmmakers for decades. How did your perception of film as a director change in terms of what you expected or what you perhaps underestimated as a director?
Well, as a film editor, you have a set amount of elements to a film, and you make the best of it. And as a film editor, I refuse to have any contact with the subjects, so I can have a very objective view of who they are, given the material that I'm presented by the director. So I'm not influenced in any way by friendship. And so as a director, I had to really change that around, that I love my characters. I really do want to love them, and I want to love their families. So there's this conflict I have when I go to the edit room, and the director in me says, that doesn't make any sense. And the editor has to say, what do you mean by that? So I'd have to have this conversation back and forth with myself, and thank God I have my producer and partner in life, Nancy, as a way of responding. And as an editor, and I've said this to many other people, I really enjoy the process of bringing the most to the screen per whatever the director gives. I like being the lead violinist for a conductor. But being both is a conflict of interest. It's like an actor wanting to be a director and directing themselves. So I really had to think so desperately different. And for 8 years, I didn't have myself in this film. I hated the idea. It was not going to be that. I was going to record this underground culture of these people, but it wasn't holding together as a story. And I have to give my consulting producer, Leo Chang, are you in the audience? Could you please stand up and make yourself wave? Who's given me us advice. And Leo just recently got a jury award for Doc Pitch just Wednesday. And I think it was about a year or so ago, Leo, we showed him a cut of what we had, and he said, I need to be honest with you. And this is exactly what the director wants. This is not your film yet. It just isn't. So.
And what he said that was so helpful was that there was a conflict between reality and dreams,
Yes.
which sent us just like back to the beginning, and we just kept making adjustments from there because of that insight that he gave us, which we probably should have had ourselves, but we didn't.
Right.
Now, Nancy, over the course of time that you watched KENJI direct, how did your perception of him as a storyteller and as a collaborator, how did that change or evolve?
You know, the thing that really changed was my perception of KENJI as this person who was always up for everything, just brave in every situation. I mean, he married me, for starters. You know? But, I mean, I never saw him have any insecurity or, I don't know, he just was a different person facing this stuff, and that was shocking.
KENJI, did this film, is following the trajectory of these other fellow hackers and fellow roommates or housemates, did that change your perception of failure? Or does failure even mean anything to you the way it might have meant in the past?
Well, I was observing these subjects, and I did meet 200 different entrepreneurs, and I got their releases to hone this story down to 3 people. And failure is such a profound thing. It's humiliating. And there were many entrepreneurs from other countries where their families would take their entire life savings to ship them to America, from India, from South America. And they would be weeping in front of me and say, you cannot use any of this material, but I have failed so miserably with my family's entire life savings to give them the promise of success that they could not attain in themselves, in their lifetime, and that their presence would be the extension of their lifetime. I took that to heart, to see these men crying in front of me, that this is what it takes. And that was also a way of deciding to put myself in this as a way of saying, the filmmaker has to take the same risks. I have to expose myself. Our marriage was very much at risk, as well as our finances, and still is. And, you know, it's a partnership of convincing that this is the best thing in our lives. As I witnessed with my subjects, it's the best thing in their lives together. And it's striking that the wives and lovers would be supportive as long as they win. How'd I do?
We'll talk when we get home.
The pillow talk is interesting at night.
Now, either of you can answer this question, but you talk about the international component. We actually get far more international than you probably expected to be following the course of this film, the trajectory takes us to Spain and to Turkey. Is your impulse to follow the story no matter where it goes, or did you have, either of you have your own hesitations or reservations about where the story was going to take us?
Well, that's interesting. What's really clear to me in this hacker house, 7 hacker houses, is that very few people were from America. Very few men and women. They would be in their mom's and their dad's garage in Chico, suburbs of New York, making their startup, and then they would travel to Silicon Valley. That this was a realization that the American dream through an immigrant's eyes is so alive. And these are not what we typically see as the underskilled, desperate immigrant who is swimming across the Aegean Sea to another country because of an autocratic country or religion or whatever. These are highly educated. All these young people that I saw, over the 100 or 200 people, were very well educated. Their countries afford that for them. And they come here and they said, "You do not pray 5 times a day, do you? You are free to express yourself." That's crazy. It was so amazing. And maybe because I'm Japanese American, that they were sharing that with me. I felt very comfortable with them. And whatever language they were speaking, we would do sign language or whatever, and we would share food. And I slept at this hacker house at Startup Embassy for maybe a year and a half. And Monday morning I would be gone, and Friday night I'll come back, change my clothes, and sometimes I'll leave for the weekend, or I'll be gone for 2 weeks. So I learned some bad habits about not putting the toilet seat down. Sorry. So it was a real observation of what they value in freedom. And they were inventing things, but they were truly, I discovered, really inventing themselves. They were becoming, as many claim to be, digital nomads, that even when they go back to their country, they were free to float anywhere and everywhere because they were gifted this optimism, and they were encouraging each other as a community, like filmmakers do. You support each other, or people in the arts.
We're going to open the questions up for the audience, but please just raise your hand. The mic will find you. Please don't say anything until you have the mic handed to you. So let's go.
Well, thank you both so much for all the heart and soul you put into this project. I spent a long time in Silicon Valley. I worked with Y Combinator. I was in 8 or 9 startups. I also did a ton of freelance work with both of them for Apple, making some films. And I have I wouldn't call it a hacker house now, but I have some Airbnb guests who are doing startups in AI. So it's been very interesting. After my years of being in startups, to be reliving it through this new generation, and seeing the film just made me so curious. Like, I tried to explain to these guests at Christmas dinner that Elon was not who they thought he was. And they weren't having it, because to him, he was, the epitome of success. I said, he's going to live to regret all this stuff he's doing. You might know. So this persistent mythology is really what I'm curious about. I did projects at Apple when Steve Jobs was there. I was there when the iPhone announcement was made. And, nobody who worked with Steve Jobs liked working with Steve Jobs. They were all like, oh, thank God he's left. And so I'm just curious about this mythology. And I think the film is interesting because it doesn't focus on failure. It focuses on tension and struggle, right? But people don't understand the huge failure rate of this kind of misguided mythology. So I wonder if you want to contribute some observations about that. Obviously, you spend a lot of time around them, and this sort of eternal optimism that just is, it's like, oh, I'm going to be Miss America or something,
Well, there is this persistence of anyone who's involved with Silicon Valley is going to be a billionaire. That's often the question that is asked me. So who becomes a billionaire? And it's very rare that happens. And certainly these technology companies are so powerful and so large that they really swallow up companies. And you pitch an idea and they steal your ideas. An idea is not trademarked, and they will openly do that. But that is to say that there are many people, many driven people who believe in what they're doing and will do it on their own against all odds. They know that they're not going to be millionaires. They just know that. And this is just a bit of evidence that shows that even with Habibe, with her company, her partner closed down the company on January 1st, 2025, because of family issues, saying, we will disinherit you if you continue to work in this company. So what is she doing? She's doing another startup. She's looking positive. She looks forward to the future. She's making money, whatever she's doing, and she still specializes in her field of nanotechnology and inner science. I hope that people see that this is a film that encourages dreams, and not to forget that you have dreams, and do go for those dreams. That's all I can say, and so we will pursue that in every way that we can. So that's our future.
Next question.
I was in 4 startup companies. This is the best story of the human reality of going to dream to platform to the digital stream that I've ever seen, speaking just for myself.
Thank you.
And the reason for that short, I'd like to ask you, so you worked there for so many years in the region, we'll call it the region, in the culture. What different perspective do you have now on the human story, collectively, in that culture and region as a result of doing your own story?
Well, large companies are way too powerful, for one thing. And if we really felt to not support that, we would actually get rid of our phones, won't we? I don't know if that will happen. But the next thing to it is to support the arts, because arts is a way of expressing what the human needs are, and filmmaking is an art. I mean, there are documentaries that give information, but thank goodness that Marin Arts has, as a partner to this, recognized this film as a piece of art. And I thank them very much for being a partnership.
We have time for one more question.
Hi, KENJI. So, and Nancy. So the part about immigrants coming and being so well educated and being such a great gift to our country and us to them was just throughout the whole entire thing. And I think that maybe when you started this movie 10 years ago, it wasn't such a salient topic. And right now, it is so very relevant. And I just want to say that I'm so grateful that this movie is being produced or being shown at this moment in America. And it's a beautiful gift that you guys have done. And I hope that it gets widely distributed so that more people can see the plus side of immigrants. So thank you so much.
And that is a natural segue to what's next for the film.
Well, we are trying to enter to many other film festivals, so across the nation and other countries. And we've had in the past, through pitches like the one that Leo just did on Wednesday, to other foreign countries, and they look at innovation and high tech enviously to the United States. They would like to create their own tech hubs and to create their own Silicon Valleys and their own sense of freedom in that all ideas are possible. So we hope to be invited to other film festivals abroad and across the nation. We don't know what else we can do other than enter film festivals. And Nancy, you
Well,
have
and
a word?
there's this whole sort of grassroots campaign that we're just starting, and some of it's grassroots around immigration, and some of it's grassroots around, I don't even know what the word is for it, but it's people who are doing things and having to learn how to deal with failure.
Right.
Like law schools have courses in this, business schools. There's a lot of organizations in high tech that are trying to get young people from not rich communities into that world. But so we're hoping we can find some interest
Right.
there too.
And STEM programs, science, technology, engineering, and math. We need to educate and not let women be afraid to be part of that as well. I mean, our youth really has to see that math and science and even coding is not a foreign thing. The end product could be something remarkable for yourself. It has to satisfy yourself before you bring it out to the world, in my opinion. So,
Does the film have a website?
yes, it does.
Yes, you go to kellyyamamoto.com and then Dreamers and I is one of the pieces of work. So
Yes.
yeah.
Kenji, Nancy, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, everyone.